Welcome, fight fans,
to the Fighters Boys Kick-Ass Podcast.
Your Fight Talk Authority.
Not to mention the most entertaining and talked about podcast with your kick-ass host, Richard Ortiz.
You mad? Come at me, bro.
And his loyal kick-ass co-host, Senor Cole Escovedo.
Streaming live and worldwide.
Coming to you all the way live from a little place somewhere in Cali. The Fighters Boys
Kick-Ass Podcast.
Fresno, California. We're live here in Mad Production Studios. I'm your host, Richard Ortiz of the Fighter's Voice Kick-Ass Podcast. Right next to me, I got my co-host with the most, the UFC veteran himself, the Apache Kid, Mr. Cole Escovedo. What's happening, Cole?
What's up, amigo?
Man, you're really letting that mustache grow out. It's looking good.
I am, man. I was going for it as like a joke, just to do it. I was like, I've never done that. Let me try that.
No, all that's missing is that
like,
top hat and that pinstripe.
That's what I'm
suit,
telling you, man. So I just kind of
go
hung
cut
with
some
it.
hair or something.
That's what I'm saying. I need a haircut. That's for damn sure. I need a haircut.
Well, yeah, shoot, I do. That's why I'm hiding it behind a hat.
I'm just gonna shave it.
I think everybody needs a haircut, man. You know what? I'm excited about our show tonight, man. I mean, with us, we got a worldwide trainer, not only trainer in the professionals, but in the amateurs, the USA national team. Comes from a boxing family. Pops was involved in boxing. And also Manuel's son is also involved in boxing, and he's going to carry on that legacy and that tradition, man. And, and we're going to talk about training the heavyweight champion of the world, making these amateurs, turning them into champions inside the ring and outside of the ring.
Kind of what the process is. Walk a guy from A to B kind of thing.
Yeah, that type of stuff too, man. But you know what? The respect that he's getting in the industry, from the who's who, from the Robert Garcias, the Freddie Roaches, and the list goes on.
Well, I mean, how many champions has he produced now? Ruiz was just a recent one, like the most latest. That wasn't like
yes, I believe
his
he.
only.
Well, I mean, he has 2, 3, but in his gym, I mean, he's producing them as we speak. They just haven't got the opportunity yet.
They just don't know yet.
Yeah, they just don't know it yet. Exactly. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce our guest today. Worldwide trainer, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mr. Manuel Robles. Welcome to the show, Manuel.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for having me. How's everyone doing?
Everybody's doing good, man. I mean, you know, we got a fight on our hands, and we're all in this together trying to knock out that coronavirus, my man.
You can say that again, don't we all?
Yeah, exactly.
We got one common fight. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to let you know, also in studio with us, my co-host, he's a UFC veteran, Mr. Cole Escovedo, so he's going to pick your brain a little bit about some MMA and some pad work, man, as we go, man. But, I'm also going to give you the platform because I know you got some news to share with us, man. You seem to always find these gems and just polish these guys up that were just full of rust. You know, kind of like that penny on the ground. You know, when you see a shiny penny, everybody stops to pick it up. But when you see that penny that's been stepped on before, it's kind of dirty. It just needs some polishing. It needs to get the rust out. You seem to grab those pennies, man, and turn these guys into champions where they want to put them on their penny loafers, man.
Yeah, just get them. The most important thing is getting them to believe in themselves. Get them to trust in themselves and trust in their attributes. You know what I mean? And what they have to offer. You know, to get to, try to take things to another level.
Exactly. And, before we get a little bit confused, man, I want to talk to you. Let's talk about day one when it all began, when your father first opened the door for you, and then you opened the door for your son. Let's talk about your father's career and what made him embrace the beautiful, sweet science.
Oh, man, many years ago in Mexico, in Guadalajara, to be precise, where a lot of great champions have come from, including Canelo Alvarez. I was also born in Guadalajara myself, but we migrated to the United States, and long time ago, man. I came here at a very young age, and obviously my dad being a former amateur pro, took me to the gym out here in California, to the famous Azteca Boxing Gym, a very well-known, popular gym here in Southern California, where fighters like the likes of Julio Cesar Chavez and Hector Macho Camacho himself used to train out of, and many others.
Legendary, man.
That's long list.
Yeah, legendary. Just to mention two great fighters like Camacho and Chavez, and that stepped foot in this ring, and others like Morales and Paez and Barrera and so forth and so on, including Oscar de la Hoya. A lot of famous boxers came through this gym.
Yeah.
And it's in the city of Bell, California. and you know that's where I began as an amateur, and that's when my dad took me to the gym for the first time, and I fell in love with the sport from day one.
How old were you when you first put the gloves on?
Ooh, back in man, I'm not gonna. I'll tell you when this happened back in 1980, a long time ago,
wow.
brother. You know, I've been doing this for you know
For a minute.
most of my life. So back in 40 years ago, I set foot in the gym for the first time, and you know, again, like I said, I fell in love with the sport, and I never looked back.
There you go. And it all started with your dad. I mean, your dad had that passion, and he passed that passion on to you. And I'm going to let you finish telling the story, and you passed that passion on the way down to your son,
That's right.
Robles the third.
That's right, man. You know, my son also became a boxer, and you know, I knew he was going to be a boxer even before he was born. You know, the moment I found out I was going to be a dad, and I was having a boy. Yeah, actually, I had twins. I had a boy and a girl.
Oh, wow.
I knew that, and I also took my daughter to the gym, but you know, it wasn't for her. It wasn't for her. But you know, my son, I just knew that he was destined to be a boxer. You know, from day one, I just felt it in my bones. You know what I mean? My son's gonna be a boxer, and he was a good boxer himself. He won a lot of national tournaments, you know, silver gloves and junior Olympics and so forth and so on. And he did very well as an amateur national pal, and eventually he became a pro, and he's doing great as a pro. You know, he's 18-1, fought for the world title, something I was never myself or my dad were ever able to you know, to accomplish, you know, or at least to get to that level.
Exactly.
So I'm proud to say that my son, you know, became an NABF champ with the WBC, and you know, top-rated fighter in the world, and got a shot at the world title. Unfortunately, he came up short, but he fought a hell of a fight. I'm proud of my son. I love him for being my son, and obviously for being able to accomplish all that he's been able to accomplish in this beautiful sport of boxing. And yeah, you know, now it's my son, Manny Robles III.
Yeah, and he's passing it down. I mean, can you imagine years ago, Cole, when his child was born, and the father, he just knew that he was going to fight. He knew he was going to become a boxer. And then to get that title shot, there's fighters, decorated fighters, they never get that opportunity, Cole. So listening to that, man, what's going through your mind, man?
Well, the first thing I was going to ask is, what was it that you saw that made you think, you know, what was it? Was he moving around? Was he like doing good footwork? What was it that caught you that saw that you're like, dude, this kid can do something?
Oh man, my son was born in the gym, brother.
Oh well, there you go. Hey, if I was born in a gym too, I guess.
So you know what I'm saying? Like I said, ever since he was in his mom's womb, I knew he was going to be a boxer.
Just always was spending
You know what I
time in
mean?
there, absorbing it, just kind of through osmosis.
You know,
I like that.
So when I was in the gym, I mean, I just knew for a fact that, you know, I would bring him to the gym before he could walk. You know, I was already my dad's assistant coach, working with countless boxers and, you know, former world champions and whatnot at the time. And I just knew, you know, knew that he was destined to box.
Well, the passion's in the family, Cole. I mean, it's in that DNA, it's in that pedigree, and you know, you always want what's best for you through your son, and for a son to get the opportunity, and still being young enough to get another opportunity, man, and just be right in the middle smack of his career.
Right.
Manuel, what's the difference from, you know, when you train other fighters to giving advice to your son when he enters the ring?
Well, no, I mean, when you're passionate about what you do, and as passionate as I am with the sport, and as much as my boxers are my kids, so I don't treat them any differently, especially when we're in the gym, you know what I mean? It's if my son isn't my son anymore once we set foot in the gym. Same thing with my boxers, you know, I respect them, I care for them like a father does, but when it's time to go to work, it's time to go to work, and I need to be hard. I'm hard on them, and I'm on their ass, and you know, I mean, if you care, you know, that's what you do when you care. You know, you gotta stay on top of them. You know, you gotta let them know that you care, and it's tough love, man. You know what I mean?
Accountability.
Exactly, and that's that honesty too, Cole. Because at the end of the day, you're here to protect your fighter, whether it's your son or not.
Yeah, your goal is their success as a fighter at that point when they're in the gym. It's not, can I make him successful, her successful in life. It's just, my job is to make you the best boxer, fighter you can be. That's it. Everything else is irrelevant. I don't care if you're super good at math. I don't care if you're super good at science. I don't care if you could drive a NASCAR. Here, this is our only job. And that's where he's got a real good control on that atmosphere. And that's one of the key things to being a good coach, is having control of the atmosphere of the gym. If you got dudes screwing around and fucking off, there's time for play and stuff like that. I get it. But when is this fight training time? This is serious time.
Exactly.
You've got to control the atmosphere. And that's what you see a lot of coaches don't have that. They just kind of run a class, and it's just kind of like you've got a leader of the other fighters kind of in there, kind of helping you run it and stuff. But when you control the atmosphere, you have absolute say over what's happening for their training that day.
Exactly. Manuel, listen to that. I'm sure you agree. I want to ask you this. Besides your father, what fighter or trainer out there motivated you, pushed you to that next level when you were competing?
Oh, man. I've been around so many. I've been around so many coaches. I've met so many coaches out there, great people. I tell you, obviously my dad to begin with.
Yes.
But besides my dad, I would have to tell you people like Rudy Hernandez, someone I look up to, and I appreciate. He's one of the best. I consider him one of the best coaches in boxing, and he's a great cut man. Works at the UFC, as you all know. Rudy Hernandez, hell of a cut man and great coach, great friend, mentor, teacher. And Chuck Borak, I don't know if any of you know who Chuck Borak was, but he was another great coach, great teacher, great cut man, famous cut man. Worked with the likes of Muhammad Ali and Oscar de la Hoya, Chavez. Worked with over 100 professional, 100 world champions. And so he passed away years ago, and he's just someone that I grew up. I grew up. I didn't grow up with him, but obviously, me being around him and watching him work alongside my dad. I mean, I learned so much from Chuck as well. Like I said, Rudy and Nacho Beristain, another good friend. Amilcar Brusa, another Hall of Famer. Amilcar Brusa, great people, man. Just great coaches. And even now, I have a great relationship with Robert Garcia. I look up to him and I admire for him for everything that he's done in the sport. And Joel Diaz, Abel Sanchez, Freddie Roach. These are all my friends, colleagues, and we all have our own boxers, of course, and our own stables. But I believe I just believe I have a great relationship with them, a great friendly relationship. And whenever I see them, I show my respects, and obviously my knowing that we're friends, that means a lot to me. You know what I mean? It's competitive when it's fight time. Sometimes I gotta fight. Sometimes my guys have to end up fighting their guys, but at the end of the day, at the end of the night, man, we all get along just fine. There's no problems. There's no beef ever.
It's a job.
At least not on my end, and I feel the same way about them. And it's just great, I mean, with the sport of boxing, it's a family, man. We're really tight. It's a small circle, so I try to get along with everyone. And Andre Rozier from New York, and Gary Stark out of New York, another great friend. Oh, man, it just doesn't stop, brother. It doesn't stop.
Brother, you're right in the middle of iron sharpens iron, man. You're right in the middle of the knife cabinet, man. I mean, you're in there with the goods.
With the best, man. And I respect that from them, you know what I mean? And like I said, I have nothing but respect for them, and I admire their work and the fighters that they work with, and like I'm in Southern California, I go to the Wild Card Gym with Freddie. He treats me good. He welcomes me. He treats me with respect. And at the end of the night, that's all you can ask for. You know what I mean? And to be respected and to get along with everyone, and understand that it's a sport, and that's all it is. At the end of the night, I've been there. When sometimes we win, and fortunately, most of the time we do, and sometimes we don't. But at the end of the night, it's just a sport. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And you mentioned the wild card, Jim. There's actually, I don't know if you recall, but I remember the first time that I met you. I remember Marie from Wild Card. She said, "Hey, Richard, there's somebody I got to introduce you to." And you brought your group of fighters in there, and you guys were getting ready to do some sparring. So I met you briefly, and we exchanged numbers that day. And I remember you were busy, and I kind of gave you your space. But Marie said, "Hey, you definitely want to stay in contact with this guy." And also, by the way, Marie sends her best. She said, "Richard, tell him I said hello, and I hope all is well. And I miss him, and I'll see him soon."
That's right on, man. I appreciate that. Marie's great. She's great. She's the backbone of that wild card gym.
Oh, brother, she runs that. She's driving the steering wheel, man. And she'll check you too at the door. She has that job.
That's what I'm saying. Man.
Yeah.
She's the backbone.
Oh yeah.
Without her, I don't know where the wild card would be.
Man. Oh, like
Freddie.
yeah. I mean, because Freddie needs to be able to do his thing, but Marie takes care of everything. I mean, she makes sure that that T is crossed, that I is dotted, and if you don't belong, she'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. There was somebody that they came in with the media, and she noticed that in his media bag, she questioned what he had in there. She said, "Okay, is that a boxing glove in that bag?" He said, "Yeah," and she said, "Make sure it stays in there. There's none of this signing stuff." No, she said that, and this was actually Miguel Cotto's last workout before he headed to Madison Square Garden.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because they try to sneak that. Hey, will you sign this glove thing there? And you got to remember the space was limited, and she said, "Keep it in there." Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she did.
Hey, so you got to do what you got to do. Somebody's got to do the dirty work.
Absolutely, and she did it with a smile.
That's right. Great.
No, but she sends her best, man. And,
right on.
And I did my research. I've asked around about you, and you got the utmost respect from everybody, from the Robert Garcias, the Marie, the Freddie Roaches, Mike Rodriguez, Sean Gibbons, and they send some questions too. Lee Samuels, all these cats, man. I mean.
Wow.
And
brother.
And one dude said this, and he said, "Let me tell you this right now, Richard. This is the most underrated trainer in the world." He didn't say in California. Wow. He didn't say in the UK. He said in the world.
Oh man, I appreciate that, man.
That was from Lukey from Lukey's Boxing.
Oh wow, I appreciate that, man. I really do, brother. That means a lot to me, and. I do it for my fighters, man. Like I said, I'm passionate about the sport, but at the end of the night, everything I do is for my kids. You know what I mean? My boxers. I want to help them accomplish their goals. Their dreams, which is obviously to become world champions. And obviously, I understand it's extremely difficult for everyone to become a world champion. Yeah. But at the very least, like I tell them, give it a go, give it 100%, give it all you got. So. If one day you walk away maybe not winning a title, at least know that you gave it your all. That's all anybody can ask from you.
Cole, listening to that's definitely somebody you'd like to bring your boy to, man.
Yeah, that's he's got the correct mentality of he's not babying his fighters. He's basically telling them, look, like a drill or a lieutenant or a squad leader getting ready to go take a mountain. Look, some of you are going to die. I can't save all of you. Remember your training. Some of you, if you remember your training, your chances of coming home alive increase dramatically. Trust in your training. Same thing here. You're not all going to be champions. You're not all going to have a title. But I'm going to do every single thing I can to make sure that you have the chance to do it. And then after that, it's on you. Some guys just want to be champ but aren't made for it. Some stumble into it, but they're not there mentally, so they don't get to keep it. So there's a lot of different variations you got there, and he's providing them that reality of, I'll do everything I can, you have that promise, but some of it's on you. You gotta do your part too. I can't make you a champion. You have to want to be it, and you have to commit to it. And then the rest is whatever happens, happens.
And you know what? You come back different, man. You come back different. You with so much knowledge, or just making the corrections that need to be corrected, and fighting against that opportunity.
You're gaining something. No matter what, you're gaining something. That's the beauty of that's why they call fighting arts.
Yeah.
You're gaining something every time. Knowledge is there. You just have to be able to open your eyes and see it or ignore it.
Exactly. We talked on top of the show, Manuel, about your motivation and who motivated you. What fighter out there did you watch and say, you know what, I'm kind of digging what he's doing?
What fighter Well, growing up,
Yes.
I can honestly tell you there's more than one, but I can go as far back as Salvador Sanchez.
Oh, that's right.
So that's with Wilfredo Gomez, Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez was probably. I was just a kid, man, but wow, what a fight that was!
Oh, it was.
And then obviously, Chavez. Chavez when he fought for the world title at the Olympic Auditorium versus Azabache Martinez. My dad used to take me to the Great Olympic Auditorium in downtown LA every Thursday night. And growing up, going to the fights with my pops, watching fighters like Albert Davila, Pipino Cuevas.
I was about to say Pepino Cuevas, that left hook, man.
Yeah. So many great fighters, but at the top of my list, I'd have to say Julio Cesar Chavez.
Definitely, man. I mean, anybody involved in boxing who didn't get anything from him, who didn't gather, or after watching him go home and practice that left hook to the body.
Oh yeah, it's just
right?
what he would.
Shadowboxing.
I'm telling you, when every time Chavez fought back in the 80s, 90s.
Yep.
Forget about it, man. Everything's just paralyzed.
Exactly.
Don't even think about having a party.
No quince that Saturday, man.
Don't think about getting married. Don't even think about getting married. Nobody's showing up to your wedding.
Nobody's showing up. Sorry,
They're not.
Save on the guest list.
The Travis fight.
I'm sorry if I said I was gonna be your Nino, but it's not gonna happen today.
It's forget the baptism or the first communion. Forget about.
Unless you want to do it in the backyard where we're barbecuing, we'll do it there.
Put a TV up.
Remember back then, during the Chavez heyday and Mike Tyson and all of that,
Black boxes.
Yep.
It was all closed circuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's
know
right.
what I mean? So it's not like today where you can watch every fight from home. You'd have to be there, or watch a fight at a bar or at somebody that it's just hard to watch fights on TV back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult. So it was all closed circuit, so it made it difficult for people to watch these huge fights, to watch a Chavez fight. So you would all have to congregate in one place. Everybody would have to show up at somebody's house to watch a fight of that magnitude. You know what I mean?
All chip in.
Exactly. Or I remember.
Exactly. All chip in for the fight.
Or just come in with a couple bags of chips or some
Beer,
cold ones, something, man.
yeah.
You're chipping in something, man. Either a couple dollars and pass the hat because I'm getting that cable bill later, or bring some chips or something, man.
Exactly, something. So it wasn't easy back then. Nowadays, you can watch fights from your phone. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which is convenient, like for today's example, what's going on. But outside of that, you're missing the essence of being at a live event. You ain't catching the Rona either right now, but you're missing the essence of just being in that arena, having a beer while you watch 8, 5, 6. Like when you watch a pay-per-view right now, unless you watch the prelims before or you watch the Fox prelims or whatever, you're really only getting 5 fights, 4 or 5 fights.
Yeah.
That's if one of them doesn't fall out. Over the weekend, you had 5 fights fall out or something. So you got to roll the dice with this era, but outside of that, live in person, you can't beat it, man.
There was nothing like it. I mean, let's stay on that era for a little while, Manuel. There was nothing like it. Watching that fight on the edge of your couch, and I don't know about you, brother, but I was bobbing and weaving myself watching those fights.
Oh, absolutely. I had the honor of being at the Olympic Auditorium again, mentioning the Olympic. When Oscar de la Hoya won his first world title versus what was it? Jimmy Vito.
Yes.
Yes. 130 pounds.
Yes.
So and then obviously places like the Great Olympic. The Great Western Forum.
Yes.
These are two places. These are two important, venues in the history of boxing.
Exactly.
Particularly here in Southern California.
Exactly. I remember I was concerned about the Rualas fight. And I figured, hey, Oscar better get him out of there early because Rualas turns it on all bloody, puffed up in the second half of the fight. And he pulls it from you, and Oscar put the lid on that. Man, that was, them fast hands and power. And I remember that. Let's talk about that real quick. I want to give, right now on the Fighter's Voice, I want to give Oscar his due. Correct me if I'm wrong. because of Oscar De La Hoya, you now have female fans like crazy. The females would not show up to fights. They were maybe arm candy. They wouldn't watch the fights. They were maybe there on business. But because of Oscar,
Pretty Boy,
you had the dresses, you had the makeup, and now they continue to all show up, man.
He was Pretty Boy.
You're
Like that
absolutely
was
right about that. Now it's
sold
fighters
it.
like Canelo, fighters like Ryan Garcia. Females are tuning in, and I think it's important for boxing. I think it's good for boxing. You know what I mean? Fighters like, remember I mentioned Hector Macho Camacho. The fighter everyone loved to hate.
Yeah, exactly. Had an iron chin though. Had a great chin.
Yep, and had a big mouth, but he,
he talked it and walked it though.
He exactly. You know what I mean? He went up in that ring, and he always put on the show.
He did, and you know what? A lot of people forget. At 140 pounds, 135s, he was a knockout artist. He had hands. He was putting people down until he moved up, and he didn't want to trade with Julio. But I mean, who did at that time?
He was a showman.
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
A showman.
Exactly.
We need fighters like that. We need characters like that in boxing. You know what I mean?
Open the door for the Naseem Hameds, for the Matamata Payas, and for all the showmen.
Absolutely.
Man, I could just stay on this topic all day, but we got so much to cover. I mean, these questions are coming in. I want to say this right here. This comment is from Sean Gibbons. He says, tell him that he is doing a wonderful job, doing a great job. You did a wonderful, and you are doing a wonderful job with Manny Jr., his fighting career. And he said, you know what, keep grinding, ignore the negativity and the jealousy, and you're going to go very far in your boxing career. That's coming from Sean Gibbons.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Sean, man. He's great. I've known Sean for
Viva Sean, man.
years now. Class act. One of the best managers in boxing, man. This guy working with Manny Pacquiao now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, look at. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's the president of Manny Pacquiao Promotions. I mean, he shows up to every event with that little monito and stuff. And he got that little mask on him, Woody. Yeah, Woody.
Shows up with Woody everywhere he goes.
Let me tell you a quick story. I saw Sean at the bar, man. This is a true story. And, Sean was taking care of business. And he brought that little mono with him, right? It's sitting there on the chair. And all of a sudden, I guess that little monito got tired and got up and ordered a beer, man. I tripped out. I mean, I saw it for myself. That was after my 7th beer, man. I did see that.
It's not right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, no, he takes him wherever he goes, man.
Mm-hmm.
He really does. No, class act too, man. And
yes, he does.
He had nothing but positive things to say about you.
Right on, man. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Sean.
And here's some questions coming in from the Hall of Famer himself, Top Rank Boxing's Mr. Lee Samuel.
Oh wow, Lee.
He said, how is he adapting, even though it's very tough to deal with this coronavirus, for training? How are you adapting your training methods during this coronavirus period?
I think we've learned to adapt now. It's been several months now, so we've all learned to find a way to get things done. You know what I mean? Obviously, being safe and wearing a mask. Us coaches at the gym, wearing a mask and maintaining this proper distance, and not have everyone come in at the same time. That's also important. Separate the times for my boxers. For my pros especially, and then obviously, and then also the sparring, and try to work with the same guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
At least the guys
Yeah.
right?
Kind of mix it up
and
too
make
much.
sure they all get tested.
Absolutely.
For everyone's safety. That's
Absolutely.
pretty much. That's the way it's been, and just being cautious, and obviously, wearing a mask, washing our hands, and that type of stuff. Disinfecting the gym from time to time is also important. Keeping it clean, all of that important. And, right? Like you said, we're all in this together. So we're doing the best to make sure that everyone goes home safely.
Yeah, keeping that protocol. He also said, how many fighters are you training right now? And I love this one. He said, which one of his fighters excites him the most?
Oh, man, I don't know. I have a few. I'm working obviously with my pros and also with my amateurs. So I love working with my amateur fighters, man. I love working with these kids and developing them. I got a couple kids that I'm about to, in the future, go ahead and turn them pro, and just watching them grow, watching their growth, and and it makes me happy. It makes me happy that they're convinced about what they want. You know, that they're excited. You know, you know what, they're doing it for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you stop and you think about it. These kids show up to the gym every day. They work hard. They're disciplined. They want to learn. They want to be champions. And yet, at the end of the day, they're not getting paid.
No.
You know what I mean? They're doing it for the passion, for the love of it. You know, once you become pro, it becomes a little different now. Obviously, you got to have the passion for the sport, but you know, you're getting a paycheck at the end of the night. You know, and at the end of the fight, these kids are not. So they're genuine. You know,
exactly.
Genuine love for the sport.
Exactly.
You know, so I love that. And then obviously my pros, I got Terrell Boucher right now, 2012 Olympian. You know, getting ready for a big fight versus Erickson Lubin, and that's a big fight. You know,
That's a barn burner, man.
It's a title eliminator, so you know I'm excited about that. You know,
see, boxing has
I'm
title
excited
eliminators.
about this fight and getting them ready.
Yeah.
There should be a thing like in boxing, like title elimination fights
Yeah.
are like a thing. Like
Yeah.
you win that, and then everybody as a collective goes,
Yeah.
okay.
There's no ifs or
You
buts
get the
to
next
it.
title
You're
shot.
not just granted the title. You're saying you're fighting for that opportunity.
Exactly. Both of you want the
Yeah.
title. Who
Yeah.
wants it more? You got to fight each other to fight the champ.
It's just as big, you know. I believe it's just as big as fighting
Absolutely.
for a world title.
But
You know,
see,
it's
MMA
okay.
doesn't have that. It doesn't utilize that. It's like, oh, we'll have the interim title. Get the fuck out of here, interim title. Just fucking call it a title contender match, and then great, you win. What do you win? A belt? No, you win the next shot. You're guaranteed the next shot. Everybody saw it. No politics. No what's good for entertainment. None of that shit. You won the title shot.
Exactly. You know what, Emmanuel? I'm going to let you go toe-to-toe right now with Co Escovedo, because I believe on your podcast you talked about that on all these different belts and on all these titles, man. I mean, these WBA, WBC, the ring, the IBF, the WBO. Okay, I recognize them, but now you have the offsprings, the branches, I mean, the different belts, man. I mean, what's the meaning of it today as opposed to yesterday? I'm going to let you share that comment with Co Escovedo. Manuel, what's your take on the meaning of the bout today as it was yesterday?
Got you. Yes, got you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Well, yesterday, yesterday, back in the heyday, there was only one major world title, which was the WBA. That's where it all began. That's where it all got started, with the WBA. And there's a lot of fighters. Back then, there's a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters now, thousands and thousands of fighters that obviously fight to someday get an opportunity to dispute a world title. But a lot of these fighters never get that opportunity because there's so much competition. There's so many great fighters out there. Everybody's got to wait in line to get a shot at a title.
Market's flooded.
You know what I mean? So when you only have the WBA back in the day, when did you ever get that shot? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Politics
And
played
you
a big
got to
part.
understand, fighters fight what? You know, they don't fight every other day. I mean, it's they fight depending on the fight. They fight every other month maybe, or every 6 months, or once or twice a year,
2-3 times a year,
depending on the outcome of the fight. You know, they get cut. Obviously, the world champion, it takes them a lot longer to defend his title. So can you imagine fighters having to wait on an opportunity to fight for a championship? Sometimes that opportunity never came. You know, but then again, after the WBA, now you have the WBC, and then after WBC, it was the IBF, and now the WBO. Those are the four major sanctioning bodies, right? The four major titles. There's other world titles out there that people don't, people in the boxing world don't give them a lot of much credibility.
Right.
But as far as those four sanctioning bodies that I just mentioned, those are the four major world title belts. And obviously you have four world. Now you don't just have one world champion.
Yeah.
Now you have four world champions, right? But if you think about it, like I said, world champion, that means there's only one world champion. Where comparing boxing to other sports, in every country, here we have the NBA, right?
Right.
But then you win the NBA, you're the NBA champion from America, from the U.S. But then maybe in Canada, you have the,
Spain, they got it overseas.
Yeah,
Spain,
dude, don't even get me
overseas.
started on the World
Same
Series
with-
shit
same
and
with
Super
baseball,
Bowl.
Same with
Fucking
Same with
retarded.
other sports.
Don't get me wrong, I like sports and I want people to watch sports and encourage and root for it and shit, but it's like, dude, stop calling it the World Series. Stop calling it the Super Bowl, the World Championship. They're not. Like, now, granted, they're
Right.
like, for our sport,
Yeah.
for football in
Correct.
America, yeah, well, guess what? I know they got football overseas, but they also got American football, too, in other countries. So, if you, like, why not? Like, why not just throw the dice in that arena and go, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have the first true World Series of baseball. We're going to have a playoff of our country. They're going to have a playoff in their country, playoff in their country, and then all the best teams from those countries all just playing like a round robin tournament thing. That's your World Series right there. Same thing with football. Same thing with soccer. Soccer, they'll play other countries.
Well,
and
yeah,
stuff.
well, Manuel, you know as well as I do, the closest thing we have that is to World Cup. But that's not even true anymore because
Yeah.
USA, we go get guys from Mexico, from Nigeria, from Spain, from
Right.
France. We
Right.
go recruiting. You know, if we
Right,
stuck to
right.
our guns, then we would find out, okay, who's truly the citizen, how long have they been here, but then who's to say who is and who's not. So,
Yeah, that's where it gets
Yeah.
muddled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want a true team from Nigeria. You want a true team from Botswana. You want a true team from France. You want a true team from Italy. American. That's like, but here's the thing: you get countries where they're very, culturally based countries.
Yeah.
Like you go to Italy, you have Italians. That's just
Yeah.
where your majority of your sports players come from. They're Italians. You go to America though, it's such a fucking cauldron of mixed, races, ethnicities, that it's just, you can't really just have like an American team and say, oh, those are
Yeah.
the Americans. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you're going to have somebody that might have lived here for 10 years. They weren't really even born here, but they've been playing baseball for us for the last 9 years. Like, it gets murky. So that's
Yeah, it
where
does.
you're going to run into some red tape. But there should be the World Series thing. I'm with him. I'm with Manuel. Just like, I fucking can't stand it. It's like, you're not the World Series of baseball. They play baseball in Japan. Don't sit there and
Yeah.
try and say, oh, motherfucker, they play baseball
Yeah.
in Japan.
Yeah.
They got the LA Dragons. They got all that shit.
And
over
they play
there.
at a high level, too.
They
man.
do. Very competitive high level.
And that's because now, Manuel, it was very few and none. I mean, we get any fighters from overseas, from the UK. We didn't even take these guys serious.
Right.
Now, these European fighters,
correct.
man, these guys are cardio freaks. These guys are monsters. They got that tenacity. They got that willingness to actually, wanting to put their life in the ring and leave it there.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot more global now. It's become
Yeah.
globalized, boxing has. Back in the day, you didn't have as many boxers, again, as you do now, especially, like I said, at an international level. You
Market's
got
flooded.
fighters coming out of Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Asia, everywhere. Fight Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of a fighter come out of Kazakhstan and now you have Triple G?
Exactly. They didn't,
Right.
and a lot of people, Manuel, they passed on him.
Right, correct.
Yeah, they
Correct.
passed
Oh,
on
yeah,
him,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Kovalov,
Right.
too. They passed on him, too.
But let me tell you something, though. I've been to Kazakhstan on a couple of occasions. Boxing is the biggest sport there is in Kazakhstan. It isn't soccer. It isn't any other sport. Boxing is their number one sport.
Like Cuba.
So they live and breathe boxing, bro.
That's wonderful.
So this is what they and I like I said, I experienced it and I've seen it with my own eyes where kids, instead of carrying a freaking soccer ball, they're carrying their gloves around their neck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how passionate they are about the sport of boxing. So there's more than, I'm sure they got a lot of Triple G's out there. They
I'm
just
sure
gotta be
they
given
do.
They got to be given the opportunity.
They're just
But
little
again,
G's right now.
Uzbekistan, now, fighters like from the Eastern Bloc, like I said, Kazakhstan, and obviously the Ukraine now with Lomachenko and Russia and so forth and so on. There's a lot of so now do you understand why the importance of having these belts? Because if we don't have these belts, a lot of these fighters will never get an opportunity to fight for
Yeah.
a world title.
There'd be one long ass line.
Well, now, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so
exactly.
here's where I can jump into a debate about it. So at some point, like MMA has the same thing. You've got the UFC, you've got Bellator, you've got
Combate.
one. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Sorry, Mike. I wouldn't put Combate on the same level as Bellator and UFC just
Correct,
yet.
correct.
It's getting there. It's definitely not a farm level show. I think that they just don't have the capital yet, and they just haven't had the following long enough yet.
But it's a recognized promotion.
It's definitely a recognized promotion. But and then you've got all your feeder shows below it. So MMA's got the same thing. They've got champions, world champions in these multiple organizations. There's no one thing. I mean, back in the day, you get guys like Faber would just go from group to group to group to group, just fucking collecting belts. Now, that's how you did it back then. But now, I can understand having multiple organizations that are lower level, but at some point, it starts to become like participation trophy almost, because it's like, oh, so you haven't gotten to this level yet, but at the same time, you can't get the attention to get there. I mean, at the end of the day, if you walk in there and you knock motherfuckers out in the first, second, or third round on a consistent basis, you don't need some random AAA level belt to get everyone's attention. You putting dudes on the canvas is going to get that bring phone call to you or your coach or your manager going, hey, we were wondering if you'd come like to have a prelim fight card on a WBA card or a TR card or a Golden Boy card or something.
You're right. You prove a strong point, definitely.
But I do understand the necessity for them. The smaller guys, you don't want morale to be lowered either. You want there to be an achievement or something, and that's where it's hard, especially with the amateurs.
You can actually say the same thing about promoters. I don't think there's enough promoters out there. There's too many fighters that are not given an opportunity to sign with a big promotional company. Maybe they don't have the room for them, or I believe that there aren't enough promoters out there to promote the sport of boxing. You know, you have the UFC, right? I don't know a whole lot about the UFC. I mean, about the sport of mixed martial arts. But I'm beginning to learn more and more about it now, to be quite honest with you. Especially during this coronavirus pandemic. I bet I've watched more UFC fights than I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, they broke the ice first.
These guys are freaking animals, man. I nothing but respect for these guys. Like, man, some of the fights I've been able to see. Don't ask me for names, guys, because I'm not good at names. But man, I sit there and it's just remarkable what they put themselves through. You know what I mean? And it's just, wow. I'm like, oh my goodness, man, I could never do this. So it's just, it's incredible what they go through. But referring to the UFC, I think that eventually there will be more. There will be another promoter, because there's just this thing is gonna grow. The UFC. Boxing's been around for a lot longer than the mixed martial arts, of course, and the UFC. So you can compare. Think about this. Compare the UFC to what the WBA once was.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And now where eventually there's going to be too many fighters out there. You're going to need more than one promoter. You're going to need more than just the UFC itself, because they're not going to be able to cover everybody.
Here's where the UFC, I think, has thought about the scenario that Manuel's painting. Like, he's painting the scenario of not enough platform, too many performers.
Yeah.
The UFC thought about that problem, and with their acquisition of the UFC Fight Pass and the acquisition of like all these different organizations, like there's some organizations that like guys fight for, like LFA, Legacy Fight Alliance for Amateur. It's Soros' company. Those guys will put on a show. It's their show. They'll promote it however they want, but you can watch it on UFC Fight Pass.
Yes.
So you've got things like that. You've got Dana White's Contender Series. So when the WA first originated, you only had the WBA. The thing that I think is going to alleviate that unbalancing where your concern is where there's too many fighters and not enough platform is you've got all these platforms that the UFC kind of technically is going to own, and then you've got the Contender Series. Like they basically created a traveling platform for all these fighters that there are to throw them out there, and then they're going to get locked up too. And that's what the UFC is doing too. They're locking up the talent before somebody else can, before a Bellator or like a WBA or TR.
To have, by the way. That's a great problem to have, because it's going to give more and more fighters an opportunity to get involved in the sport, and fans as well to watch.
But it's going to require a lot more entertainment. Like, you're going to have to be twice as exciting, twice as violent, twice as entertaining, all while maintaining wins. Yeah, no, it's going to be like you're going to have dudes picking dudes up and just, we think it's violent now, but when it gets to the point to where, like, if you win by a decision, it's a bad thing. You won, but you won by a decision, bro. Like that's a bad thing. Like you didn't do your.
Even
like,
though you dominated,
2 decision losses and you're fired, kind of thing.
2 cats ahead of you just won by knockout.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
All eyes are on them. The fans blew up with them. They got the signing, I mean, they got the bonus.
They
fighter
get
of
the
night,
bonus,
so forth.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be exciting, but if all you're pulling off is decision wins, they ain't gonna cut it. Now, not everybody's Clay Guida, so you can't keep pulling off decision wins and losses without being entertaining. You have to do it.
Clay Guida is like the Greg Hagen of boxing. I mean, and you know how Greg Hagen just takes a shot, punishment. He's there forever.
Greg Hagen. Wow, I remember Greg Hagen.
Yeah, well, he finally won that bout against Macho Camacho, which was disputed, and you came in with that when Camacho came in all camouflage, but he didn't have all the best athleticism, but the man had heart, had chin, and just had that will to leave everything inside of the ring.
He gave Camacho his first defeat.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
He actually ruined it for Camacho because he actually ruined it for Camacho because winning that fight, if he would have won that fight, he would have fought Chavez next.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a huge setback for Camacho.
Yeah.
And that place ended up taking years later.
It did.
Because of the fact that Greg Hagen went in there and defeated Camacho.
Well, I mean, Don King made sure he had some paperwork on that too, so he had to make sure that happened.
Not only that, but it made Greg Hagen some money because eventually he got the rematch with Camacho, and also remember that he fought Julio Cesar Chavez at Azteca Stadium, where he broke the record for attendance. I think it was about 110,000 people that showed up for that event in Mexico City. That's not going to happen again. I don't think that'll ever happen again.
No.
Not like Chavez.
And I remember those interviews. I remember Greg Hagen when Julio was getting upset. He goes, "Take it easy, take it easy," and that was the joke that kept going everywhere and everywhere. And he's the one who made the reference actually to Tijuana taxi drivers. Remember that? He said, well, look at his record. He fought nothing but Tijuana taxi drivers. And Julio was so upset. He said, go home, make love to your wife, do what you got to do, pay all your bills, get in the best shape of your life, because I'm not going to stop until you stop breathing. And he actually carried it. If you remember that fight,
he did.
He carried him and punished him.
He punished him and he carried him for a lot longer
teetered him
than
along.
he should have because
he did.
But hey, he gave everyone a show that night.
He did.
And also remember, the promoter was Don King, and
only in America.
You know, one thing you got to say about Don King, man, is he always put up great.
Yes, he did.
Great shows.
Yes,
he did.
He's
the last promoter I can think of that would have 3 or 4 world titles on the same night. You know what I mean?
Crooked as shit, but
brother, he did more of that. He put on one of the best cards ever. It was called the Rematch. You had Ricardo Lopez on there. You had Jesse James Leija, Azuma Nelson. You had gosh, I want to go on. Yes, not Mark Breland. What's my guy? The Hawk. Julian Jackson, you had him. He was on there. You had Simon Brown, Terry Norris, Julio Cesar Chavez, Maldrick Taylor.
The best fighter.
Oh yes, he did. He had them all on there, man.
Had them all, man.
Man, you don't don't get me going, man.
Oh man, I'm telling you, we'd be here all night.
Oh man, I love this stuff. This stuff is like, I mean, they don't make them like this anymore. But one thing I do want to add, let's also add Greg Hagen again. He had some paydays because remember the trilogy with Vinny Pazienda.
Oh yeah, Vinny. How can I not remember Vinny Paciencia? Great fighter.
Tasmanian Devil, man.
Great fighter. Yep, Taz.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Hey man, I got to ask you this real quick. I got to get to some of these questions. This is a deep question. Give this one some thought. This is coming in from Mike Rodriguez, who is the cut man to Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, Mike, my buddy, my friend, Mike. Yeah, War Tape, baby.
Yeah, oh, there he is all day. And, okay, he's listening right now. Mike, I've been waiting, my man. Size extra large, and I really don't promote other shirts. I really don't because when I get them, I give them away. Isn't that right, Cole? But I love that one, World Tape, man. War Tape. Baby,
yep, I got mine.
They've been around.
Oh, you got yours too, and you know what? It's soft cotton too.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
'cause-
got mine. I got a couple of them actually.
Oh, well, there you go, man. I'm gonna give him. You better give him my address.
They've been around for a minute. I was using them back when I was still fighting. Like War Tape brand,
Yeah.
they've been around for a minute.
Well, I'm gonna make sure mine gets you
I
one
think
too.
Faber
man.
had like an exclusive deal with them for a while. They were like his official hand wrap, and then I think the UFC like partnered with them or bought rights or something to like, because the UFC started having like
Yeah.
a branded wrap
Yeah.
after that for taping and stuff. It was like the official UFC tape fight, and I was like, that looks really a lot like fucking War Tape. Like, did they do something? What? That's what I
They
figured.
tweaked it a little bit.
Something. They got away with it.
Something. Mike's asking you this. It's a deep question. He says, how gratifying is it for you to involve your son in what you're doing? I mean, for him, you know, his son's also involved as a cut man.
Yeah, I know.
And for you, what your father passed on down to you, and for you to pass it down to your son, and knowing that that legacy is going to be a great legacy and continue to grow on, so forth and so forth and so forth. There's going to be grandkids involved, and it's going to continue to grow. He said, right now, how gratifying is it for you?
It's very gratifying. I mean, I first of all, I tell my son, you know, I tell my son I love him all the time. You know what I mean? And how proud I am of my son for all of his accomplishments and everything. I got every single trophy he's ever won.
That's right.
Every medal, every belt, everything, you know,
Yep.
that he's ever won. So, I always tell him, you know, how much I love him, and no matter what, you know. And at the end of the night, you know, he gets to come home to his family, and that's what's more important in life than that, right?
Yes.
Family. So it's very gratifying. But will he be a coach? Will he end up being a coach like myself? I don't know. That's entirely up to him. You know, I, for one, still plan to be around this game for a little while. I love what I do. You know what they say, when you love what you do, you never got to work a day in your life.
That's right. Yeah, I was about to quote that. Yes.
You know, I owe so much to the sport. I've been able to travel the world, meet a lot of interesting people, seen a lot of interesting places. And it's just awesome. It's incredible. So and it going back to my dad. I mean, I remember when my dad used to travel, and I sit around at home waiting for my dad to come back from his trips and to sit down with my pops and ask him how it all went. And what, you know, him coming back from Argentina, from Korea, from Italy, or many other places that he was able to visit. And I would sit back and ask, hey, Dad, so how was your trip? So what was it like? What was this place like? You know, especially back then, there's no social media. There was nothing, you know, so you just have to sit and wait for Dad to come back home and maybe show you some pictures.
Yeah, Polaroid.
Like the Polaroids back then, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But it was interesting. I loved it, you know, and now it's me, and hopefully it'll be my son someday, but that's his choice. But like I said, but as far as right now, you know, we're enjoying it, man. We get along great. You know, we have great father-son relationship, and you know, I mean, when I have 2 granddaughters now. I don't have any grandkids, but when I do, you know, maybe I'll take them to the gym. I might even take my granddaughters to the gym if you know, my kids allow me to.
Hey, there you go. Hey, they got to be able to defend themselves and lay some hands, man.
Yeah, that's right. You know,
Exactly.
Women boxing nowadays, it's really taking off, and I'm happy to see that. We got some young ladies in the gym that are killers too, man, and hopefully they get an opportunity as well to maybe someday, you know, continue the sport of boxing, and you know, continue represent the USA national team, or you know, become pros. And you know, as long as they follow their goals, they follow their dreams. Like I said, like I mentioned to you guys in the beginning, I think that's important.
Let's talk about that right now. There's a certain somebody that you were cornering just recently in Top Rank. First of all, I want to ask you, what was it like being inside of that bubble and just knowing that you got a star on your hands?
Yeah, Michaela Mayer, obviously all credit goes to Coach Al Mitchell. That's Michaela's coach, you know, head coach, and I'm always there for Coach Al. That's another mentor, teacher. You mentioned coaches a little while ago. That's another person I looked up to is in Al Mitchell. You know, he head coach of the USA national team, I believe, in 3 different Olympic games. That's incredible, man.
Yes.
And you know, he had a burden for us as a professional boxer, and so many others that he's that he's talked to me about. He's told me so many different stories, and all credit goes to Al with Michaela and her success. Unfortunately for this fight, Coach Al caught the coronavirus, so he wasn't able to travel. And shout out to Coach Al. I hope he's feeling a lot better now.
Yes.
And he called me and asked me to take his place, man. And I'm like, wow, man, it was an honor for me to do that, for Coach Al and obviously for Michaela. And I'm glad everything worked out. I'm glad, she put on the performance that she did.
One hell of a performance. To headline a top-ranked event.
Absolutely, but again, it would be foolish of me to sit there and try to take any credit for her success.
Yeah.
Again, Coach Al deserves all the credit, but fortunately for me, I was able to work the corner, work the fight, and touching bases with Coach Al and talking about what they worked on and talking about the opponent. So I was ready for it, and I've been doing this for a little while. So things went well. She listened. She did everything that she was asked to do, and this was supposed to be her toughest test.
Yes.
The toughest opponent, man, and she passed it with flying colors.
Well, yeah, she did, because she's the athlete, and she's going to bigger and better fights. And I will say this, right. Coach Al knew who to call. Just know he has everybody on the Rolodex, brother, and he called you. Trust me when he says that, yes.
Man. He's a character, man. Coach Al, I love Coach Al. Got a lot of stories, man. That's one person you should, call sometime, man. He'll keep you on the phone for an entire day, all night, man. I tell you, got a lot of great stories.
Hey, I'll absorb it like a freaking sponge, man. Trust me, I will. I got to ask you this, and everybody that I spoke to, they use the word humble. And tonight you have been so humble. Cole Escovedo, we've talked this whole entire time. Not one time did he mention the world champions under his grasp. And I want to know this, and I'm going to ask the $1 million question, because you've had several world champions. How gratifying was shocking the world, being part of Andy Ruiz, who actually broke the news here on the Fighter's Voice, and then later on we had to make adjustments because Eddie Hearn didn't want it released yet. Meeting the president of Mexico, shocking the world, where Andy Ruiz said, he said it on the show, I am in the best shape of my life, and I owe it all to Manuel Robles.
Oh, wow, yeah. We made history together. We're no longer working together. Apparently he's now working with Eddie Reynoso. I wish him nothing but the best, but you can't erase what we did. You can't erase history. So that, my friend, no one will ever take away from me. Him being the first heavyweight Mexican American heavyweight champion of the world, and me being his coach. I mean, that you can have a second, you can have a third, but we'll always be number one. You know what I mean? And that's very special to me. It's very gratifying. It's humbling, and that's something I'll never forget. And I'll always be grateful to Andy for giving me the opportunity to make history with him, be able to work alongside and do what we did, man. It's just incredible.
I got to ask you this, man, because I've been watching these videos, man. Hey, man, how hard does Andy really hit?
Fucking hits hard, bro. Excuse my French, but he's got pop. He can, and I got to sit there and take his punches, bro. It's not easy.
I was watching your head kind of jolt. It was like those, and don't get offended here, like those crash dummies, man, on that commercial. I mean, you were getting. I thought I was going to see you in the corner with the neck brace on after that.
It's just something that you as a coach you kind of get used to. You work your way around it, and it's just it comes with experience. You can't just sit there and take a body shot, even if you're wearing a shield.
Yeah,
you can't sit there and expect to take a body shot from a man that big without knowing how to handle it. You know what I mean? It's just something that we're used to, something I'm used to particularly. He's not my first heavyweight, but definitely he's a special one because he became a world champion.
Exactly, and I'm going to leave it with this last question here, and then we're going to move on. This question is coming from Frank Alamon, boxing coach here in Fresno, California. He said, ask Manuel, in his opinion, will Andy Ruiz ever win a major title again?
It's up to Andy. I've been asked this question before. It's entirely up to Andy. It's entirely up to Andy. Look, what we did when we defeated Joshua the first time, that wasn't love, brother. We worked our asses off for that fight. He came in ready. Yes. And mind you, let me go back to April 20th of last year. he fought Dimitrenko on April the 20th.
Yeah.
So he had a 2-month camp, right?
Yep.
He had a 2-month camp. He had a tune-up fight. You want to
Yep.
call it a tune-up fight? A tune-up fight
On
with
Fox, right?
Dimitrenko. Right, correct.
Yep.
That was his comeback fight after a relatively long layoff.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And did great with Dimitrenko. And a week later, we get the call to fight Joshua. So he pretty much only took a week off, and he was ready. So went back to the gym and trained for another month. And when he fought Joshua the first time, he was ready.
He was.
Just think about it. A 3-month camp with a tune-up fight in between, and then we get the big fight. Unfortunately, what happened after the fight wasn't good.
No.
He took 3 months off. Made a lot of new friends. A lot of new people in his life, and that they were a distraction, and they didn't help. And he lost track. He lost focus.
Deteriorative
He'll
circle.
tell you himself. He lost focus. He lost the sight. He was a world champion, and I don't know what it was. I think he mentioned he wasn't motivated. But how could you not be motivated?
Yeah.
You're a world champion. What more motivation can you ask for? Than that. And not just, we talk about belts. He didn't have 1 belt, 2 belts. He had 3 of the
Yes,
4
he did.
major belts in boxing. I mean, shoot, man. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Jeez, I don't know. I ask myself sometimes. I'm nodding my head right now like, shit, what happened? But I don't know. I don't know, man. I can't tell you.
You know what? It's funny because you mentioned that. And us here at the Fighter's Voice, honestly, we feel like we're a part of that because we had him on the show right before he was going to fight, on that Fox fight. And before he even won that fight, we're already talking about, hey, if you win, Anthony Joshua's looking for an opponent. And he goes, well, let me take care of business first, and then I'll come back on the show and so forth.
Right.
He took care of business. He came on a week and a half afterwards and said, hey, man, they've been making contact with me. It's almost official. Came back on the show, made it official, actually called when he was in New York. So we feel like we're a part of that victory too, man, and we share it with him. But being what it said, he said, I'm in the best shape of my life, and I owe it all to Manuel Robles. So he did say that. That's recorded. It's
Right
on
on.
the record, man. And you are a part of history. And Cole, we talk about that all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's
Right
one of the
on. I
one of the few
appreciate
stories
that,
we
man.
have
Like
as
I
far
said,
as
it's great.
fighters doing that, being on the show, and then fucking luck would have it. Next thing you know, they're doing something. You know what I mean?
And being victorious, man. Hey, listen, let's talk real quick before I release you. You made a statement today on Twitter, and I'm going to let you say the name. One of your former fighters, he'll be the same if he goes back to his original style. Let's talk about that briefly.
Did I mention that?
Yeah, today on Twitter, Top Ranked Fighter.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I retweeted it, my man.
You're talking about, Oscar Valdez.
Yes, sir. There you go. I'll let you say it.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Look, man, I love Oscar. That's probably the proudest moment in my boxing career as a coach. That had to be it when he became a world champion. That's just that we went through a lot together. Someone I have a lot of love for, someone I have nothing but the utmost respect for, and I just feel that it's a tough sport, man. But he's fighting a style that does not pertain to him. You know what I mean? They're trying to do things with Oscar that don't go with Oscar. You can't train everybody the same way. You know,
It's like asking Mike Tyson to jab.
Fighters are different. You know, you just gotta. Some fighters like Oscar, an aggressive fighter, a come forward fighter, with a come forward style. Your typical Mexican fighter, warrior. You just gotta work around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta work your way around that. Don't take away from him. Add to what he already has. You know what I mean? Add to his style. Add to that, and I believe that you'll have a great fighter in your hands.
Yeah, I agree with you. Cole, I know you want to ask that $1 million question. We can't let him go without getting his take about Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I was going to say if you had to pick one of those, we were going to ask him one of those wonder matchups that you'd want to watch. What do you think about the Tyson Jones fight? Would that fall into your category of matches that you never got to see that you're happy is happening?
Yeah, I don't know. What can I tell you? First of all, I've talked about this before. It's an exhibition match, you know. So
it's going to have some
there's not
criteria.
It's an exhibit that tells you everything. It's an exhibition match. I believe that. I don't think it's going to be a fight. I don't think it's going to be a real fight, if you ask me. That's my opinion. I mean, unless they assure us it's going to be a fight, then great.
They have to.
There's no winner. I mean, if it's an exhibition, there's no winner, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, well, they can't call it a pro fight because they're not.
You know what this
reminds
me of? You guys are aware that Chavez is doing exhibition matches with El Travieso Arce, right?
Yeah.
In Mexico?
Yeah.
They've had 2 already, and they're working on a 3rd fight. It's like they're going on a world tour. They're going on a tour in Mexico doing exhibition matches. You know?
So it's like glorified sparring matches at different places?
They're not going at it. It's obvious that they're not. I've seen these fights, and you know they're up there having a good time, and people show up in the masses to watch, you know, 2 of their idols like in Arce and Chavez fight, you know, and go at it on exhibition. And is it going to be the same thing?
Fuck no.
Between Roy and Mike Tyson? Or
be
these
one
guys
and done.
Go, you know,
Be
these
one
guys
and done.
really going to
Well, they're going to be wearing smaller gloves, and there's not going to be any headgear, and it's 8 rounds. So I mean,
so they said no headgear.
No headgear and small gloves.
But they can't knock each other out. They can't knock each other out. That was one of the steps. They can't try to knock each other out, apparently.
Okay.
I think it would be one and done, though. I don't think we're going to get quite the barn burner. I don't think we're going to get that. Because I just don't think if this one's not a good fight, unless this is like some spectacular exhibition match where they both look phenomenal and it's hair thin clothes, then maybe, another one. But I don't see them doing it again. I think everybody would like, well, we want to see someone else. That was cool, but what are you going to do past that?
Well, word has it that if Roy Jones is successful, and like you said, there's no winner, but he's saying if he's successful, he's going to challenge Bernard Hopkins, and then you're hearing Evander Holyfield said, I'm available if Mike Tyson comes up on top.
I'm trying to start a master's class?
A master's tour. Hey, listen.
The amateurs, in the amateurs, they have what's called a master's division.
Yes.
Which is guys that are 35 and over.
Oh.
You know, men that are 35 and over. Now we're going to have a master's division in the pros. Anybody over 50 can join the master's division tournament.
Well, check this out. I want your take on this, too. And I'm going to release this video because I knew Julio Cesar Chavez was going on this tour, and I know he was an exhibition. And one of the questions that I asked when I went up to, we shot the podcast at Robert Garcia's Boxing Academy, is I asked Robert, I said, hey, any chance of you coming on this this Masters tour? He goes, with who? He goes, Julio Cesar Chavez. He goes, oh, man. He goes, that means I got to get in shape, man. Fuck. He goes, oh, man. He goes,
hold my beer.
Yeah, and he goes, well, and I'm going to release the video, too. He says, well, maybe if it's for charity, yeah. You know, and you know the way Robert talks, he goes, fuck yeah. He goes, I'd love to get fucking knocked out by Chavez.
That's funny, man.
Canvas me, starch me, do it.
He said, he goes, it'd be an honor,
right?
And he was serious.
It'd be an honor to get knocked out like Chavez.
That's what he said.
You know you're gonna get at least one in.
Shape, man.
No, he's in tremendous shape. But you know, hey. Hey, Robert knows what he's doing, man. I mean, it'd be good. It'd be good. But I remember Robert's big
world champion himself.
Absolutely. His biggest thing was, man, now I got to get in shape, man.
Right? Oh, man, I don't think I can do that. Not unless, right?
That's the time in the world.
Exactly. But no, I would love to see those guys share the ring right here. Hey, man, we're going to have to let you go, man, but let the world know about your podcast, man. I mean, when can we follow you, and what days does it come on? And before we close, I know Cole has one last question.
Yes, sir. Well,
give his info.
My podcast takes place every Monday night at 7 p.m.
Okay.
You can catch it on YouTube or on Facebook. It's called Keep It Clean with Manny Robles and George Francis.
I like it.
You can follow me on my Instagram, manual.boxing, and you can download the app and watch your show. Like I said, every Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Keep it clean with Manny and George.
There you go.
Nice. Well, with the same concept of keeping it clean, I like that. I like that name, by the way.
Right on.
I know you're not a big MMA fan, but over the weekend there was a fight. Brunson had a fight, and he won. But near the end of the second round, I want to say, the bell basically saved their guy, and Brunson went back to his corner, and they took like an exuberant amount of time checking out his opponent, like long enough that at some point you kind of wanted to look at it and go, okay, well, are they calling the fight or not? Like, why are they still checking on him? So as a coach and a cornerman, how long would you count and let go by before you contest it and start waving it off going, well, fuck, a fight's over, man. It's been 2 minutes already. Fight's over. Like, you get a minute in between rounds. We're done, right?
Well, sometimes maybe you need more than a minute to make sure that you're looking out for the fighter's safety. So
No, true, but if
you
it,
wanna make sure that
but if it's going to take that long, shouldn't the fight be stopped?
The only two individuals that can stop that fight, the only individual that can really stop that fight is a doctor, and second to the doctor would be the ref, and then obviously the corner.
So,
But obviously you sit there and you wait on the doctor's the doctor's advice.
yeah, okay, so let's say you're cornering Brunson, and you just finished whipping this dude's ass, and the only thing that saved him was the bell.
Yeah.
So you need that minute to get his ass back out there so you can finish him off. And they're taking 2-3 minutes now checking this dude out. Like, at that point, he's recovered. He's got his shit together.
Correct.
What happens if you let your fighter go out there and it gets canvassed?
It's unfair for the other fighter. Definitely unfair.
It's a safety risk, yeah, but at some point after like
And
a
the fight
minute.
the fight should be declared after a minute. Give or take a few more seconds.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
Then the fight. That's it.
answer the
You
bell
can't
or
fight, you
don't.
can't fight.
Yeah, you get up off the stool or you don't. So okay, that's what I wanted to pick your opinion because it just happened over the weekend, and I know I could kind of analogy it into a boxing fight for you to kind of get your grasp and your take on it. So appreciate that, man.
No, not a problem at all. But I believe the fight should have been called off.
And I agree. Yeah, after that much time, the fight should be called off. I've seen some weird shit happen in MMA where the guy ends up losing after, and you're like, what?
If the doctor or anyone in the corner is having doubts about letting the fight continue, just stop it.
Just stop it. If you
You're
got doubts, stop it.
already.
Yeah, those doubts are going to be confirmed when he gets killed.
The referee's having doubts. The corner. The fighter fights.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A fighter don't stop. The fighter will always tell you, don't stop the fight. Look at Deontay Wilder.
Don't stop the
Don't stop the
music.
fight. Don't stop the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to pull the plug at some point.
Boo! Like, I mean, Jesus Christ. That was just a bad reference to use, I think.
Yeah, it was, man. What are you talking about?
Kill him.
Hey, well, listen, man, I'm going to let you go, man, but text me your address and your shirt size, man. We got to send you the official Fighter's Voice t-shirt, man. And, hey, send whatever you got. We're going to support it. Like I said, we're going to be blasting and letting everybody know that your podcast is on Mondays, and I'll get the rest of the details so we can help support it and promote it, man. Iron sharpens iron, man, and not just in the gym.
Brother.
Absolutely.
That's right, man. I'm glad you think that way, brother. I mean, that we're all here to support one another. I really enjoyed being on your show. I had a blast, and God bless you guys, and hope to be on the show again sometime.
Hey,
you
man.
guys take care.
Hey, you too, man. I want to. Yeah, thank you, man.
Thanks,
All right,
man.
take
You got
care.
it. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Very nice guy and very humble.
Very.
Very humble, knowledgeable. I mean, this guy, we could have did a 2-hour show easily. Kind of like when Sherdog came on the show. I didn't want it to end.
Lots of time on his mind, or lots of
Content.
stories, lots of content. Yeah, he's got a plethora up there.
Which reminds me, we got to reach out to him, man. We got to get him back on the show.
Sure Whizzle?
Yeah. For
Sure
shizzle, my
Whizzle.
nizzle,
All right,
izzle,
we have to reach out to Sherwood, get him on here and talk about encyclopedia time.
There we
So
go,
break
man.
it out his knowledge.
Hey, man, we'll break off some, because I know we got to go right now, but some Jackass or some voice.
Yeah, some Jackass on
some
the Mustang.
UFC shit.
Yeah,
man.
some UFC shit. Let's do some of that. Well, we did have UFC over the weekend.
Yeah.
There's another one coming up this Saturday. So for those of you that are, they're just fucking pumping them out. They're doing, I think they got like 9 shows coming up over the next
The
month.
20th is going to be a great show, great card.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one too. That's supposed to be what, 252 or something like that, I think is what that's going to end up being. See, I got to get a t-shirt. I'm going to have his t-shirts made.
Jackass on the mic.
But like I said, we talked about the Brunson thing over the weekend. Weidman's coming up next. He's fighting Omari. That's all going to be on the fight. It's a fight night coming up, basically. But as far as MMA stuff, like, there's not much. Like, there was just the UFC over the weekend. Some fighters passed out. I think there was like one fighter passed out after their fight, one fight out before. Weigh-ins, people were bitching they weren't getting paid and stuff. But it's like, look, Dana White tried to like reconcile as best he could. He's like, well, yeah, they're not getting their show money, which is usually what happens. So for those who don't understand, usually when you have a fight, you make weight, you show up, fight gets canceled for some reason, fucking dude gets hit by a car crossing the street or whatever. Your fight gets canceled, you still get your show money. You at least get what you were contracted to do to show up, fight, and lose. You're guaranteed that money. Well, in this particular scenario, with everything that's going on, they're like, look, we're not going to give you your show money. They probably compensated them for like maybe a couple weeks of training camp, pay their staff, pay their managers, pay their trainers, shit like that, get some bills paid kind of money. Like, hey, here's like a couple grand. But we're going to get you on next week's card. That's the trade-off. So what a lot of people don't really understand is they're not getting their show money, but a lot of these guys, they're turning them around real fast. They're like, look, you're fighting next week. You're fighting in 2 weeks. You're going to be fighting in 10 days. Like, they're trying to get them back in right away to get them, more money, because now they have more chance to make more money because all they got to do is show up and make weight and fight and lose, and they get show money at that point. So they're giving them an opportunity to make more money on top of it, especially the dude Hannon or whatever is fighting next week. Yeah. That dude's going to have money in his pocket that day, and then he's going to get paid next week when he shows up to fight next week. So it's not hurting. It's not the greatest scenario, especially when fighters understand how hungry you are when you're fighting paycheck to paycheck kind of shit. But they're being compensated. They're not being just told, oh, whatever. Like, they had a kind of a contingency plan on this. They're like, look, we've got room right now.
Hey, you got fighters staying at home without a fight date.
Exactly. So, when the phone rings, but you got the UFC Fight Night going on. Oh, The Rock, the weirdest thing I fucking heard, it's not even MMA. The Rock helped buy XFL.
Yeah.
First off, why? Why the fuck would you spend $15 million on a dying fucking brand?
Him and Dana White.
No, it was some entertainment group that he partners with, and they do shit like this. But I mean, they obviously, don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, they spent $15 million because they saw potential. They saw something. They want to do something different.
Listen, man, when you're rolling in dollars sometimes, see, Mayweather sleeps in it. He'll get bored and sleep in the money. So The Rock, he's just buying, football teams.
But remember who he's buying it from. Remember, motherfuckers, he's buying it from McMahon. He's buying it from Vince McMahon. That's the guy that ended up buying XFL, and they were running with it, I think, was Vince McMahon.
Well, he's probably giving him that instead of money that he owes them. He's probably saying, hey, take some of this.
I just think it was a fucking dying brand. It didn't have a really big following. It was kind of confusing to fans and viewers. Nobody
I didn't know
really
it was still
followed.
going, man.
And neither did I. Well, that's what I'm saying is I don't think it was. I think it was already kind of
Now's not the time to be buying football teams or any professional team where you don't have a crowd.
It is if you have a plan for it. And I imagine with a guy like The Rock buying it, their plan is going to be very, very, very entertainment, athlete-oriented. Like, we're going to put actors kind of shit in front of the camera, but they're going to be athletes too. But they're going to look really fucking good on camera and talk right.
Speaking of entertainment, man, there's this fan, and I know this kid personally. His name is Brett Juarez. He keeps chirping on the fighter's voice, man. I think he wants to spar with you, Cole.
Oh,
yeah.
Good times.
He's going, hey, well, Cole kind of looks like this one cat. And he kind of looks like this one dude. This one dude. And I'm waiting for you to get on there and say, dude, who are you talking about, homie?
Who do I look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Or
say, tell me face to face what I look like.
I'll have to go back and see what it says.
I'm just messing with Brett, too. I know him personally, too. But, no, I mean, he's loving the show. He's a supporter of the show. But I think he wants to test you, man. I think he could take you. I think he could take you.
Dude, I'm so far from even in it. Probably. I mean, we could play checkers. We play Connect 4.
Oh, my gosh. And you know what? You know that you're being successful when you get harassed during the weekend.
That's not even harassment, man.
No. I'm not talking about that. I don't even want to give this person or things or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you get harassed.
Yeah. You know you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
you are.
I'm glad, you have that thing on your phone where you can block them and report them
but
to spam. I like that part.
Fuck it. Let them. Don't even bother with them. Like, because here's the thing is if they're continuing to do it, you're continuing to bother them. Like, I was watching Rick and Morty the other day, and they were all boo, and he was like, I don't give a fuck about your boos. I've seen what you cheer for. Your boos mean nothing. Every breath you take without their permission should be a positive in your life. So everything you're doing, who cares if they're mad? Let them. Yeah. That means you're doing it. It's that simple.
Absolutely, man.
Can't have haterade without haters.
Absolutely. Big Al reached out to me. He said, hey, man, let me know when you guys got space. And I said, hey, give us that fight date. Let us know what's coming up, and we'll have you on the show.
Yeah, bro. Good. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we love all of our fighters that we have come on. We love all of our fans that come on. At the end of the day, though, remember,
there's a long-ass list here.
There's a long-ass list, but it's content-driven.
Relevancy,
media.
Fight dates, and what's happening today.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's ready, good to go, healthy again, in fight shape.
But we have you on the radar, brother. We're just waiting
don't
for that
forget,
day.
we just need to know when you're fucking people up again. Yeah. Let us know when you're going to get to punch someone. That's what we want to get out there. That's what we want to get that content out there.
Yeah, exactly, man. Hey, you got anything else?
Just a little personal plug. If you know any,
No.
any of you fans that are boxing fans, promoters, things like that. I'm not going to throw anything out there, but I've landed in a position to where if you want to have your logo on a pay-per-view, let me know. There's an opportunity that's going to be presenting itself very, very soon, and you want to put your brand out there. It's one thing to say, hey, let's put your brand on some canvas, some shorts or something. It's going to be out at nothing against the Palace, but it's going to be out like the Palace or Chicken Ranch or whatever, right?
That's a great opportunity.
But this is going to be way higher fucking level. You want to put your brand in front of millions of people's faces and make sure that it's seen accordingly and correctly and promotedly.
Get a hold of us.
Get a hold of us. There's opportunities going to be coming up.
down
That's the
to
only
Cole
personal plug
Escobedo.
I can throw out
No
there.
problem,
But
man.
other than that, hit us up, and it's going to be. This is a real thing. This isn't like, oh, I want to put my, Buddy's company in it. Well, Buddy's company better have some fucking triple zeros behind that first number. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And it's none of this stuff where, hey, I'm going to put you on the back of the T-shirt. I mean, you're going to be exposed to the masses.
To the masses, like to the masses.
To the masses, and you're investing that someone's going to be kicking a lot of asses.
There you go. To the masses with the asses, man.
There
Let's
you
go.
There you go. Hey, I'm Rich Ortiz, your host. Co Escovedo, the coast with the most, the Apache Kid. We'll see you guys next Tuesday and next Wednesday. It's a wrap here in Fresno, California. Thumbs up for Richie.
Okay, fight fans, it's not goodbye, but until next week.
Remember.
It's always voiceography at its finest. So on behalf of Richard Ortiz, Cole Escovedo, the special guests, and all the crew right here at the Kick-Ass Podcast, saying hasta luego, babies. And always thanks